100,000 subscribers. I'm stunned. I'm at a loss. And the fact that people are telling me that I am the first Magic the Gathering YouTuber to reach 100,000, I don't even feel comfortable saying that because I feel like there must be someone else, and I don't want to be some kind of horrible egomaniac. I'm not even going to say that. And people saying that I'm now the largest, none of that matters. I'll say it doesn't. I don't want to be the only person in Magic the Gathering at 100,000. Please, I many more, not just one more or two more, but 6 more, 7 more to join me up here. We need it. But I won't even say in absolutes like that. I'll say this about my channel in absolutes. I've got the best viewers that there are, the absolute best in all of you, and that I don't even hesitate in saying. So, 100,000 subscribers, 100K Q&A, and I will answer first a question that was asked in every single Q&A video that I did but never once answered, and that, of course, is, what's your name? It's Brian Lewis. Hello. In Legacy, what is your favorite non-budget combo deck? Well, you know me, I always like outliers, these kind of tier 2 to tier 1.5, 1.7, whatever style decks. And while combo is usually not my go-to, my favorite combo deck actually is in Legacy, and it's a deck called Food Chain. What's the most expensive card that you own? My most expensive card? I don't have many cards of a really high value. No Power 9 or anything even remotely close to that. I guess I'd have to look through the collection, but the highest value cards I have are probably the revised dual lands that I've recently reacquired in order to play the Legacy decks that I'm playing, like Food Chain, a deck tech on that coming up soon. You know what's really nice about those revised dual lands that I've gotten from people on Puka Trade or through other trades is that a lot of them said to me that they had had that dual land since they were in high school. And if you've listened to my previous Q&As, you'll know that I traded away my dual lands when I was in high school and regret it, not for the loss of money that they were worth, but because they were a big part of my life. And I've actually taken a lot of joy in the idea that the dual lands that I have regained for my Legacy decks are ones that weren't just bought and sold and traded for value from a million different owners over the last decade or two, but rather ones that people cracked from packs or did a trade for in high school and more or less kept until recently. And I like that for all those people I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a good home. It's not going to leave my hands ever, and it's going to get played. But also double-sleeved, so it won't be played condition. It'll be near mint. I take good care of it, trust me. Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle? Oh, that one's easy. Chikorita. Johto for life. What is your favorite deck to play? Ever? Murpho! What is your favorite Doctor Who episode? That is a close one. And I would say that if I had to pick just one as the best or my favorite Doctor Who episode, I'd probably have to go with A Christmas Carol, because I think that is probably Doctor Who at its most quintessential, enjoyable, truest, purest, and best. Although really close second, really almost tie for Vincent and the Doctor, but the list goes on and on. There's so many episodes, but yeah, probably A Christmas Carol. You haven't seen Star Wars? You must be joking. Why haven't you seen Star Wars? How? Everyone wants me to see Star Wars. No, I have never seen any of the Star Wars. Not one of those films have I ever seen. And you know what? There is not one other thing, be it a food that I have not eaten, a song or musician that I have not listened to, a book that I have not read, or another film that I have not seen, that I have ever experienced such shock and such insistence that I must see Star Wars. I never have encountered this. And you know what? The fervor expressed and shouted towards me by my friends and family, my own parents, let alone my dear friends and wife, over the fact that I have never seen this freaking series of films, makes me want to see it all the less. There's a show, and it's called Star Trek, and it had an episode called The Game. And in this episode, there was a game on the Enterprise, and everyone tried it, and they loved it, and they spread it around. And if it hadn't been for the fact that Wesley Crusher refused to try the game, everyone on the Enterprise would have been brainwashed by it, because it was all part of a thing. And so luckily, there was one person who didn't try the game. I need to be that one person who doesn't watch Star Wars. I'm the only person on this freaking planet who hasn't seen this film. Well, you know what? I don't care how orgasmic Star Wars is. I'm not interested. It's just, why do you want me to see it so badly? There's other movies I haven't seen that are amazing, surely. Why this one? It's creepy. Stop pushing it on me. What's the hardest board game that you've ever played? Well, what comes to mind is a board game that I tried recently, although I guess you could technically call it a card game, and it's called Arboretum. A friend brought it over, and I quickly bought it because I really, really enjoyed it, but I can't say as I even fully understand it because it is so mathematically inclined. It's just a numbers game in the most intense way, and this poor English major just could not handle it, but it's one that I would recommend. It's got amazing artwork, beautiful crafted cards, great texture, great quality paper, and it is a really fun game, but the math component, well, I understand it, I do, but I don't necessarily understand how to win as I'm playing it. It's incredibly complex, but also a beautiful and engaging game. Maybe I should do a review on it. But first, I think I need a few more practice sessions. Where do you film your videos? Here, in my basement. Like, literally, the basement of my house. When we moved in, this room, in our cement, creepy, dusty, stuffy basement, this room had been established by the people who lived here before us, but it's a real makeshift room. There isn't even a floor. It's cement. And when I moved in, I laid a really cheap carpet down right on top of that cement, and it floods when it rains in the winter. And the walls are really cheap, and I picked the color of the paint, okay? But it really is just my basement office, and it's really small. It doesn't extend that far beyond the camera. A lot of people have posted and said, oh, like they think I'm on a set. It's just me in my basement. Seriously, my editing computer is right there. And people say, oh, you know, you designed such a cool looking set. It looks like a sad little community college professor's office. It's so fun that you went for that design. And I'm like, yeah, it looks like a sad little community college professor's little creepy basement office where it floods in the winter. Yeah. Do you have something to say to your friends in Turkey? Turkey? Merhaba! Merhaba! What was your dream growing up? What did you aspire to be? Well, actually, since before I can remember, what I wanted to be was an animal biologist. It wasn't until much later that I discovered a love of literature and the written word, and that was something that came much later. Throughout all of my life, K through 12 pretty much, I was destined in my mind to become an animal biologist. I even went to a specialty high school for the biological and zoological sciences to start getting ready for the intense college classes we would be taking by essentially having us take college-level classes in high school on animal biology and zoology. But it was when I fell out of that program And it wasn't like failed out, but fell out of it, and I'll talk more about that perhaps in detail at another video, that I did fall into the written word, specifically through fantasy books. The Dragonlance series, Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, which is what led me, many people comment on my Deathgate books that I have here. Well, I discovered Deathgate through loving Weiss and Hickman and what they wrote for Dragonlance, and I read everything of theirs that was set in fantasy anyway. The Dark Sword trilogy and the Rose of the Prophet trilogy. And that's also how I read everything from Terry Brooks to later getting into things like the Red Mars trilogy, which people have commented on in my bookshelf. And then I fell in love with Connie Willis and Octavia Butler, who remains one of my favorite authors to today. And even then grew into non-fantasy genre writers like Raymond Carver, and on the list goes. Today I'm a big fan of ZZ Packer and Jhumpa Lahiri and everything with writing and literature, and I wanted to be a writer myself, but that was really something that came much, much later. I wanted to be an animal biologist, and it was my love of nature and animals and just that which is alive in ecology. And yet, I'm not really a big fan of green as a color thematically these days. But it was my favorite color when I was in high school. Because that was me. I was pure green mana then. What one color philosophy best suits you? Well, it's not green anymore, that's for sure. Not to say that I am not a major environmentalist, but I guess if I had to pick one color that really defines me today, and it's one color philosophy, mind you, I really do feel that all 5 colors are in me, of course, but just one. Oh, you guys always want me to pick just one. Red, but not for the anger that we associate with it as players of Magic, but for the emotion that red truly embodies, the desire for free will, passion, joy, love. If everything else in me could be lost but those, I would go on as I am, but I would not want to lose those qualities. Red is really, if I could only pick one, at my core, because I am a being of emotion and compassion and joy and love. And yes, anger and fury as well. But that's really only when you don't double sleeve. No, I'm kidding. It's okay if you don't double sleeve. That's really only certain products that fall apart in our hands. Well, that one's true. What has been your favorite challenge with this channel? My favorite challenge, I really like that the person who asked this said favorite challenge, as though the idea of something challenging for me would actually be enjoyable and pleasurable, and I couldn't agree more. So my favorite challenge has been, and I hope you don't feel this is a cop-out answer, but it really has been trying to make each video better than the last. I actually am not happy with any video that I make, not entirely so. There's always a little mistake that I can see in it, or an area that I feel I didn't hit right, or something that I cut that I wish I hadn't, or on and on and on. And so every time I sit down to make a video, I feel a kind of frustration that it's not going to be as good as the last, and yet the last was one I was unhappy with and unsatisfied with and frustrated with nonetheless. And so each time I'm just trying to both recreate what I did last time and also trying to be better than I was last time, because last time wasn't good enough last time. And so that is the challenge, and it's a wonderful feeling. It's exhilarating and infuriating, and sometimes I go upstairs and I'll show a video. I mean, I watch them like half a dozen times, and then I go upstairs and I'll show them to my wife or my friends, the people who play Johnny and Timmy, and the few videos I've had them in will be over, and I'll show them the video, and I'll see their reactions, and I'll see it working, and I'll just start jumping up and down with like, yes, nailed it. And other times I'll be like, ow, darn it. Not good enough. But, that's why we have another video coming on Thursday and Saturday and a week from today. And what do you think about the price of Jace Vryn's Prodigy? The price of Jace Vryn's Prodigy is too damn high. Do you stream at all on Twitch? If so, when? Where can we find you? Yes, I do stream on Twitch. I stream on Twitch at least twice and oftentimes 3, sometimes even 4 times a week. Come hang out with me on Twitch. Now, I don't have a set absolute schedule right now, but I do stream fairly reliably every Tuesday and Thursday, and I try and get on at least one day during the weekend, and sometimes I've got a free night during another weekday, and I manage to log on then. What's that, you say? Today that this video is being posted is Tuesday? Well, I will be streaming today. So come join me at Twitch TV/Tolarian Community College. Never would have guessed that's the Twitch channel name. But yes, and if you can't catch my streams, then I have a second channel. Yes, I have a second channel. It's called Tolarian Public Library, and it's where I archive all of my streams. And so go ahead, check it out, subscribe. Hope to see you there. Do you have any other book recommendations? Sure, I've recommended Parable of the Sower a lot, but I guess I can recommend another one. How about Passage by Connie Willis? Big, thick read, but an excellent, excellent science fiction book. Passage by Connie Willis. This is a good one. I actually want to make sure I read it word for word. You have been critical of certain companies and people in magic. Have you ever been pulled aside, or written to and told not to voice your opinion? No, I don't believe that there's ever been anything even remotely close to that. I will admit that I've gotten a few emails when I've talked with some of these companies that maybe didn't get favorable reviews that maybe, and I'm not going to say who, but maybe I sensed a kind of frustration or even hostility behind that email. But it's very hard to tell because there's no tone in email, and I don't pay a lot of attention to that. But I've never had that kind of like hand on your shoulder like, yeah, what do you think you're doing? You're ruining the bottom line. Big mogul-like character, or anything even remotely close to that. I think silence is probably the worst treatment I've gotten. I certainly have had quite a few emails unanswered, quite a few cold shoulders, so to speak, in regards to this. But you know what I say to everyone, and I've spoken, I guess, to just about every company in some capacity via email at this point, is this. My evaluation is my own, and that as I'm evaluating the product, I'm showing it off, I'm telling people about it, I'm relaying the information, and I am letting you know why I either like or dislike that product. And the viewer does not have to agree. My mother used to watch Siskel and Ebert and would disagree with everything that Ebert said, and she would know that if he hated a video, she would probably love it, and if he loved a movie, she would probably hate it, and she knew that from watching him, and she loved to tune in. But that's just because their tastes were different. I've had plenty of people say, I actually feel differently. I encourage those comments, and I would say to, any company that was frustrated with a honest yet critical evaluation that no one is being forced to agree with me. The product is being displayed, shown off, and I wish more people gave critical reviews. I really do. I have a question. What does your wife teach? My wife teaches geography. Yes, at the college level, she's a professor of geography. Great subject to look into. What's that, you ask? Is geography just memorizing state capitals? What a silly notion. Geography is a highly under-enrolled program, hard thing to find these days, and yet highly in demand. Why? Because what do you do in geography? Not state capitals. Computer mapping. Sounds like a relevant skill. GIS, Geographic Information Systems. It's actually my wife's specialty. GPS, technology. Google has got a line of people around the corner with a degree in computer programming, but it's actually hard to find someone with a doctorate in geography. Some great programs that'll make some great offers to you. So if you're a freshman or a sophomore in college, take a couple geography classes and see if you might want to pursue that. Out of all the legendary creatures in Magic the Gathering, which one should become a planeswalker? Easy, it's Feldegriff. Feldegriff should become a planeswalker because Feldegriff is everything that planeswalkers lack. Feldegriff is non-humanoid. And I know the first thing you're going to say is, what about Ugin and Nicol Bolas? Well, yeah, they're dragons, but they're very human. 2 legs, 2 arms. They wear clothes, well, Bolas does, sort of dragons. I want something that looks really different, at least one thing. And I also like that Feldegriff is whimsical and from another era, something that is almost absurd in concept. People love Feldegriff. It would be the great sort of planeswalker to have, the sort of diversity that we're missing in terms of fantasy aesthetic. And I think the idea of a giant purple winged hippo walking across the plains, Feldegriff the Wanderer, that's what I want. Feldegriff. What would you say is your play style? My play style? I'd say it's enthusiastic. That's actually one reason why I don't like to play in the main events at GPs. Like when I was at GP Vegas, I said, just side events, casual games on the side. People there at the pro event are there with a professional purpose, and I'm going to be the guy sitting down across from them going, hey, how you doing? You having fun? Oh boy, this is such a great little event that Channel Fireball put on here. This is really great. Have you been outside at all? Eaten any good food? Oh boy, you're playing a that deck? That's such a fun deck. And that's really annoying when you're not there just for fun, but you're there on a pro level. And so I'm not going to be that guy, but that's really what I'm like. I love it. You put down your card and I'm like, oh, what deck are you playing? Oh boy, it's this. As long as it's not eggs. It's like, oh, that's a good deck. Okay, it's going to be a struggle here, and I have fun playing. I love it. I love when I go up against bad matchups because if I win, it feels great. And if I lose, it doesn't feel bad because it was a bad matchup. I love it if I'm the favored deck and then I lose and someone just does this beautiful display. I'm an enthusiastic player. But of course, I'm also enthusiastic because it's a community that makes me excited. It's all of you. 100,000 plus subscribers growing every day. Thank you all. Thank you so much. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You already help me so much. Come check me out on stream on Twitch. Check out Tolarian Public Library. If you want to support me, you can do so through Patreon, but also just by hitting that subscribe button, by telling your friend about the college, by leaving a comment. It all helps. I'm so happy to have you all as my Tolarian community.